Welcome everybody to the pilot episode number 0 of the as of yet unnamed engineering podcast by Engineernerd. And I'm Engineernerd and want to say, come on in and sit right down. Let's have some fun talk. And now you're probably wondering, well, who is Engineernerd? Well, I'm both of those things. This has been my screen name for 20 years now, so it's probably 20 plus. And it's a combination of both things that I really see myself as. I see myself as an engineer because that actually is my profession. And if you know me as an engineer, my name's John, and I have been working as a supplier quality engineer now for a few years, but I've been in manufacturing my whole career, and that's just what I do. I actually work for a medical company, so as people send stuff in, we check it out, and I'm there to solve any problems between suppliers and the people that are using their products. Now, you may be wondering about the nerd side. Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. I've been a nerd for probably at least as long as I've been an engineer, but probably much, much longer. Star Wars, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff has kind of helped shape me into a nerd. And I was a nerd long before it is as cool as it is today. I wore glasses in grade school, so that kind of didn't help the situation, but science and math have always been my passions, I guess, in school. I really love both those things, but kind of the nerdy stuff, I love that too, and both things have really shaped me into who I am today. So if you're looking on Twitter, you can find me at Engineernerd. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what the hell is this show, and what's it going to be about? Well, here we go. The idea is because I'm represented, I believe I represent myself as both of those things, an engineer and a nerd. I want to bring both of those concepts to people. Now, don't worry, I'm actually not trying to make an engineering podcast where it's going to require calculus to get through it. Now, there may be some things that lean more towards the engineering side, and there may be things that lean more towards the nerd side. We may have an episode on, how Star Trek technology mirrors what we have today. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But, you might hear something about that. But what I really want to do is take engineering concepts and present them in a way that people can use them in their everyday life. So, you're not going to find me talking, like I said, about how to, use calculus to calculate the stress inside a pressure vessel. And there's books that do that, and there's computer programs to do that with. Will you maybe hear me how to solve problems like an engineer? Most definitely. I've got a bunch of concepts laid out for what I want to do in the show, so I've got about 20 topics already that I want to cover, and some of them are problem solving, but a little more on that later. Part of the show is also going to be nerd news, and this might be a new movie coming out that I'm interested in that may highlight engineering or science. It may be some steampunk thing I see, or it just may be a cool website I see that go, hey, that's got a neat new piece of technology that I can use, or, hey, I saw this thing for 3D printing that makes it easier, or, oh, hey, there's a new 3D printer out that's even better than what I have. So, sometimes you may get that, sometimes you may get a little more engineering, a little more nerd, who knows. Right now, it's kind of up in the air, but I don't want to make it one set thing, so understand that it's gonna vary. There's probably gonna be some people that like some episodes and not others, and I'm okay with that. I don't believe that podcasts are one size fits all. And unlike the guys over at Nerd Lunch, they never did the same thing twice, it seemed like. But overall, there was a good theme to their show and a good pattern, and I'm just trying to kind of emulate that model because I really like the idea of, hey, it's kind of what I want and what I like, but I'm not going to hold you to, hey, we're going to talk real strict about, what the rules of geometric tolerancing are. We might talk about it, but, it's not going to be a strictly engineering show. So don't worry. Matter of fact, I'm hoping that it isn't, mainly followed by engineers, because I'm really intending this for everybody. As of right now, this episode is going to go up on YouTube. Now, you're saying, well, why are you putting an audio podcast on YouTube? Well, easy answer. I'm trying to get this out there just as a pilot. And I said that at the beginning, and it's a pilot. It's not, this isn't necessarily how the show will come out in episode 1. I still need to get some things around before I can get a website together and that kind of stuff. I've actually got a .com for it, but I'm not quite ready to go down that path. So I wanted to get something out though, to get some feedback from some people. And this is my attempt to do that. And the easiest way I could get it out was to put it on YouTube, because I already have a YouTube channel. I've got some different things on there. Some of it's just me playing video games on PS4 and streaming it. Some of it's, hey, how do I change a battery in a PS4 controller's on there, I know. So, there's a bunch of different things on there. All of it's real nerdy. So you can check it out. But this podcast will not reside there eventually. My intention right now is it'll probably be an audio podcast. I know some of the concepts and stuff I'm going to talk about would probably fit better with video, and maybe I'll do some supplemental videos or something to go with them. But video editing just really isn't my thing. I'd rather just talk on a mic and get something out there, because video takes a little longer to produce. Especially when you're talking about stuff that you want to make graphics for and everything. So it's just to kind of save time on my part. If you don't like that, please, like I said, at Engineernerd on Twitter, go ahead and send me some feedback, or leave it on YouTube, and we'll go from there. I'm also going to try and keep these to half an hour. I don't know if I'll make it on this first one, but that's kind of my plan as of right now. So they're going to be a half hour, maybe 2 a month, maybe 3 a month, maybe 1 a month. I'm not going to set myself to a schedule. I do have an engineering job, and I am on some other podcasts. I'm on the Action Figure Blues podcast, and that's my nerdy side coming out once again. So, I'm not going to try and tell you, I'm not going to tell you right now I'm going to be out every week. I don't have the time for that right now. Every other week, maybe. Every 3 weeks, maybe. I don't know. So, that's kind of what I'm shooting for right now. It's kind of an every 2.5 weeks probably, just to get something out. But that won't start for a while yet, until I get to actually episode 1. I want to get this out there, get some feedback first, and then see where it goes. So we're going to get to today's first topic, and this is kind of how the topics on the show are going to go. They're going to be about 10 minutes long probably, and today's topic, I'm picking something that is a little odd, but it seems right for a pilot episode. So if I said to you, what is an engineer? What do they look like? What do they do? A lot of you are probably going to think of a guy in a light white lab coat standing by looking at test tubes maybe, or monitoring gauges on some piece of equipment somewhere, deep underground in some kind of facility or nuclear lab, or maybe you're going to think of somebody in a college somewhere doing some kind of experiment. And the sad part is, engineers don't really look like that anymore. The thing is that is not what engineers are. Now, let's just start off. I actually went on some websites and I said, well, what is an engineer? And I actually got to one where it says it's somebody that studies the field of engineering. And then I went and looked at engineering, and it was, the study of an engineer, which really, really did not help. So then I asked myself, well, okay, let's see what else we can find. And I checked a couple more sites, and I looked up engineering, and the one I saw, and I read this, and I was like, I don't think that's right, but I see where they're coming from. And it says engineering, the application of science and mathematics, okay, so far, by where the properties of matter and the sources of energy in nature are made useful to people. Huh. Well, I'm not out building, water wheels to harness, waterfall water to make electricity or anything. So I was a little puzzled by that. That may have worked a couple hundred years ago. I don't think that's a real good definition of engineering anymore. So I looked up engineer on another website, and it says a person who designs and builds machinery of technical equipment. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, but you think about it, and there's chemical engineers, right? So that doesn't really fit either. So I came up with my own definition. And my definition is, and you guys are going to laugh at this one probably, but it really is what I see engineering as, or at least it's been for my career. And that's a person who solves problems from time to time, punctuated by paperwork. In today's modern society and modern engineering, it just seems like there's always paperwork. But the first part, that's really the key to what I believe an engineer is. An engineer is somebody who solves problems. Okay? Not, nothing more than that. Now, you're probably going, well, what? And I'm trying to make it as plain as possible. Engineers are people who solve problems. Normally, the problems are going to be technical problems. How do I make a conveyor to go from here to here? What does it need to look like? How do I move something from one side of a plant to another? How do I package something so that it'll be safe when it's transported to a consumer? Normally, they're technical problems like that you think of engineer solving. But however, they don't have to be, you know. Sometimes it might be, hey, can you help me? I need a spreadsheet that shows me how much material we're going to use this month. Okay, well, that might be something an engineer would help with. In my industry, because I work for a medical company, we actually are monitored by the FDA, and everything has to be documented to be true. Okay, if you don't document it, that's what we actually say. If you don't document it and have documentation, it didn't happen. So because of everything in the world today, I actually see this in a lot of industries. Automotive industry, everything on your car has to be traceable back to where it was manufactured and like what steel it came from or what glass it came from or what plastic in case something goes wrong, right? So really that when I come down to it, if somebody asks me, what is an engineer? An engineer is somebody who solves problems. And, like I said, they're mostly technical problems, but, not always. And a lot of times when you go to engineering school, you study in a specific discipline. You might be an electrical engineer. You might be a mechanical engineer. And that's actually my background. I actually have a mechanical engineering technology degree. So, that's stuff that I studied. I studied strength of materials. I studied stress. I studied dynamics, all of those kinds of things. But I had some classes in quality control and like PLC programming and machining. So, I have a very specific skill set that I learned in school, and I've learned a lot more since then. And what you find is, and I've tried to explain this, especially to like some of our interns and things that I've sat down with over the years. Engineering is about problem solving. Now, you may learn specific details of, how to solve problems in a certain field, but it really comes down to problem solving. And a lot of times, engineers will study a field like what I'm in. Basically, I studied mechanical engineering technology, but I now work in quality. I've known other engineers. I know one specifically, he studied paper engineering, but he works as a quality engineer. So just because you learn in a certain field, it doesn't mean you're going to end up in that field. And it doesn't mean you can't be a great engineer. It just means that you've studied, you've put in the coursework, and you've learned the discipline it takes to solve problems. And that's really what engineering school does. It teaches you the discipline on how to solve problems in a technical field. There's a certain pattern, there's certain methodologies you learn in school, and really learning that language is probably the most important thing you learn in engineering school. But then, maybe you can apply it a little more specialized way and solve very specialized problems in certain fields, but that's not necessarily the case. Like I said, a lot of engineers I know, they don't necessarily end up working in the field they studied in. It just all comes down to problem solving. Can you solve problems? Now, the problem with that is, it's kind of like when I was in college. I took bowling, and I can actually keep score in bowling by hand. And this isn't as big a problem today because, you got all the electronic scoring stuff. But when I took bowling, I would be bowling after that outside of school. And, it used to be if somebody saw that you knew how to keep score, they'd come over to your table and go, hey, I've got 2 strikes here and a spare here. What's my score? It's just what people did. When they realized you could keep score, they'd come ask you questions. Engineering's the same way. When people realize that you have the skills to solve problems, they will come seek you out to help them solve problems. And a lot of times those problems aren't as technical as you probably would want them to be. It may be, like I said before, hey, I need help with a spreadsheet, or I need help programming a PLC, or something like that. sometimes it's as simple as, hey, my mouse doesn't work, and you seem to know how to do this stuff pretty well, because engineers kind of pick up on stuff like that. So, it's not always uh, just technical problems, and it can be a lot of other things, because good engineers interact with a lot of people. Now, that kind of dispels one of the rumors of engineers, right? Or one of the 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 stereotypes of engineers, that they're kind of antisocial, awkward, and they're all nerds that wear glasses with tape on them. That's just not the case anymore. There's engineers in manufacturing that they like to go out and play football on the weekend, and hunt and fish, and none of those things. If 30 years ago, if you'd said, I know an engineer that hunts and fishes and goes camping every weekend, well, that really wouldn't have sounded like an engineer. But honest truth is, there's probably more engineers in the world like that than there are the nerdy kinds, only because there's a stereotype, and it's just what people think of. But really, it all comes down to solving problems. So, like I said in the intro, one of the things I want to go through in this podcast is I want to teach people how to solve problems. And they may not be, big revolutionary ideas to you guys, but sometimes you just need a little nudge to say, oh, hey, yeah, I forgot. Maybe I should do that. If maybe it's just a little new technique, or just something you didn't think about that maybe you can use in your everyday life. So I want to pass some of that knowledge along, and I'm going to pass some other stuff along too. But that's one of the things I do want to drive to. So anyway, this is kind of what I'm thinking these discussions are going to be like. I don't know for sure how this is going to work out, but they're going to be 10 minutes, and like I said, I really want to keep them kind of that length, just these little bite-sized nuggets of, hey, engineers do this to help solve problems, or hey, when I'm stuck on this kind of thing, I do this, or hey, here's a skill that maybe you can use in your real life. Some engineers will find use in this, some might not. I'm hoping that everybody finds something, though, and even if it's just something but just kind of forgot, I'm okay with that. So anyway, let's move on and go to the next section. Now, like I said, I kind of want to do some nerdy things here as well. And kind of my idea was I would either do like tech news, or, some kind of nerdy news, or something like that. But today for my topic, I actually wanted to talk about something that I just happened on recently, but it's kind of cool. And at least it's cool to me. Now, I am an engineer nerd, so what I find cool, maybe just a little nerdy for some of you guys out there, but maybe not. Hopefully, if you've listened this far, you will be amused by this. But one of the things that I have, and I mentioned it earlier, is I have a 3D printer, and I got it last year during the pandemic, and I probably really haven't printed enough with it, to be honest. It's one of those things that sometimes you get something like that, and you're like, oh, I can do this cool thing, and I can do that cool thing, and I can, have all sorts of little gadgets on my desk, and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, you can do that. I will say that 3D printing is a little harder than what I thought it would be. It's not just oh, hey, you drop it in a program and you press print and it pops out. Well, there's a little more to it than that. And I have a resin printer. So that means it's the one with the Vata resin in it, and it builds up a layer at a time. It's not the glue gun type with filament. So I was out looking one day for something, and I actually found, and this site does a lot of RPG or role-playing game miniatures, D&D miniatures for the older crowd, and it's called My Mini Factory. And on My Mini Factory, I stumbled across something called Scan the World. And if you go to their website, on the homepage, there's a button that says Explore. And if you press the Explore button, underneath it, it'll have a listing for Scan the World. And what it is super cool, because it's people that have taken items like sculptures and things in museums and scanned them, and then presented them as 3D models you can print. So, like the Venus de Milo's there, the Rosetta Stone's there. There's just all these cool architectural statues and columns and buildings and all sorts of, just stuff that's in museums and it's all scanned and it's in 3D models. Now, I almost got caught up because I started downloading, when I saw it, I started downloading a bunch of ancient Egypt models, columns and sphinx and just all sorts of stuff like that, because I have an interest in that kind of stuff. And I just haven't got around to printing any of it yet, but it's like, well, this is just super cool. I could build a little Egyptian tomb on my desk if I wanted to, after I finished it all or getting it printed. So I wanted to throw that out there because it's, 20 years ago, I think we were probably all still using film cameras for the most part. We may have had a digital camera, but it was more of a supplement to our regular camera, and it let us take pictures. And we didn't think anything of it. But now, I read somewhere that there's more pictures taken in a single day than there used to be in a single year, because you used to have to use film, so you had to think about every little single thing that you took a picture of, because it cost money, and then it cost money to have it developed. But now technology has made it to where you can just pick up your cell phone camera, you can take a picture, and if you don't like it, you delete it, you take another one. Or maybe you don't delete it. And people can take pictures, just hundreds of pictures a day, and that's cool. And I really see this scan the world thing as kind of an extension of that kind of technology, because now, let's say my friend at work, he really likes the Eiffel Tower. Well, I can actually go in to scan the world, download a Eiffel Tower model, take it to my 3D printer, and I can print that, and he can have one of those for his desk. Maybe my mom really likes a certain statue in a museum somewhere. If it's on Scan the World, I can actually take that, print it, and she can have it on her side table. So it's just a super cool. There's just so many things on there, just so many famous statues and things like that, and architectural elements, and just all sorts of stuff on there. So check it out, My Mini Factory, Scan the World, and I think you'll probably find something on there that you really like, because there's just such cool things on there that these things that you've seen in books all these years, like Winged Victory from the Louvre. It's on there. It's actually got a couple different ones on there, but you can download that now, and you can print it, and you can hold it in your hand and have a copy of that statue in your hand, which is kind of like being able to take a digital picture now. It's maybe not quite as cheap, but you can see the technology going that way, and that just fascinates me. So anyway, this is kind of the idea of what this section of the podcast is going to be. Just something I've noticed during the week, or a couple of weeks since the last time I recorded, and hopefully you guys can find something neat there. Even if you don't have a 3D printer, it's worth going out to look, just to see all these objects, because you can kind of see what's out there. And if you have a friend that has a 3D printer, you can tell them, hey, I really want a printout of XYZ. So that's it for this section, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, this is where I am going to wrap up the show, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Now, like I said, this is a pilot episode, so I really, really, really want your feedback. What did you like? What did you hate? Maybe you have an idea for something that can make it better. Maybe you want to hear different things. You can reach out to me on Twitter or YouTube. I'm at Engineernerd on Twitter, and at Engineernerd 93 on YouTube. So, please reach out to me. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you'd like to hear, and we'll go from there. Now, like I said, I don't know. We're probably a month out before I can get episode 1 officially out in the world. It might take a little longer than that. It might, just bear with me. And if you got questions, you can always ask me, hey, when's it coming? And I appreciate that, because it pushes me to get it done. Anyway, one quick mention, incomptech.com, that's where I got the music for this. And, I just want to say, until next time, remember to have your pets spayed or neutered, and I will talk to you later. Engineernerd saying peace out.